Hello, Georgia friends. My name is Rodrigo Cruz, and I serve as the Executive Assistant to Bishop Robin Dees in the North and the South Georgia Annual Conference.
And I'm Kelly Roberson, and I serve in Connectional Ministries and Communications in the South Georgia Annual Conference.
We want to bring to you some context and detailed information why the South Georgia Annual Conference and the North Georgia Annual Conference are working together to explore and pursue unification as one annual conference.
So let's start from the beginning. In the summer of 2024, the Southeastern Jurisdictional Conference of the United Methodist Church assigned Bishop Robin Dees as the resident bishop of the Georgia Episcopal area, which is composed of the North Georgia and South Georgia annual conferences.
Now, it is important to clarify that this assignment was not with a command to merge annual conferences, but to find a way to lead two independent annual conferences that reside within the same state, so they can make disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. It is also important to mention that this assignment came with the opportunity to explore the possibility of unification. Throughout the years, we have seen sets of annual conferences that share bishop across the connection coming together and unifying. There have been a couple of annual conferences that come together in as soon as 18 months. There were a couple of annual conferences that came together in around 12 years. Some annual conferences took anywhere in between, and some annual conferences never became one, and they found a way to operate as one Episcopal area with two or more independent annual conferences. So the opportunity to explore this journey was presented to Bishop Dees, and her position from the beginning was very clear. Wherever this journey leads us, we want to honor our United Methodist connection. We want to expand the kingdom of God, and we will do it in the spirit of we, together.
So from July to October, Bishop Dees and leadership from both annual conferences continue to do the work that we're all called to do. During this time, we discovered that we have more in common than we realized, that we have experienced some of the same pains throughout the past couple of years, but most importantly, that we have the same goals to reach people for Christ. During the months of November and December, a group of clergy and laity from both annual conferences began meeting to try to imagine a framework of what this unification journey could look like. In order to be transparent about our work, we created a website, georgiaumc.org, that launched in January. This website lays out a timeline that explores the possibility of unification of both annual conferences over the next 2 years. Today, we want to share with you 3 keys about our why of this work.
Our first reason is missional. It is well known that both annual conferences are not what we used to be. The past couple of years of pandemic, disaffiliation, and in all honesty, our lack of relevance in some of our communities have forced both annual conferences to downsize, not in mission, but in size. During the past 5 years, the North Georgia Annual Conferences has gone from having 12 districts down to 5. From having almost 800 churches to now around 400. From having a laity base of just under 350,000 to now one just over 200,000. From having around 900 pastors to now around 500. And from operating with a budget of $21 million to now operating with a budget of around $11 million. Something similar has happened in the South Georgia Annual Conference. South Georgia has gone from having 9 district superintendents to 3 district superintendents, from having almost 600 churches to now around 160 churches, from having a laity base of around 100,000 to now one of just under 20,000, from having around 600 pastors to now under 400 pastors, including those who are retired, with fewer than 50 pastors ordained in full connection. And from operating with a budget of around $10 million to now an upcoming budget of less than $2 million. We are not who we used to be in numbers and in size, but our biblical mandate continues to be the same, to make disciples of Jesus to transform the north part of the state of Georgia and to make disciples of Jesus to transform the south part of the state of Georgia. And not only that, but our mission field continues to grow. People from all over the country and all over the world continue to move to the state of Georgia. Individuals and families continue to find ways to expand. New developments continue to take place all around us. Our friends the harvest continues to grow and it is plentiful. So when you have less workers, yet a great harvest, we believe we can be better together. Combining clergy, laity, congregations, ministries, communities, and the beauty and power of our connectional system seems to be the next faithful step to achieve our mission. So make no mistake, the main reason to pursue this unification is not the next step for survival, but it is for missional and transformational reasons.
The second reason is practical. The 2024 Southeastern Jurisdictional Conference adopted 10 Episcopal areas, where previously there were 13. Georgia is one of the new established areas. And part of the rationale of making one area out of the whole state is because of the synergy in mission and ministry that can be created within state lines. For the past couple of months, Bishop Dees has been traveling up and down I-75, but she's not the only one. Leadership from both conferences have been doing the same, driving both ways in order to maximize and share the strengths of both conferences with each other. It's been that synergy, creativity, and imagination of what ministry can be if we come together that has given us glimpses of what ministry could look like if we do become one. So we're simply asking questions and having conversations. What if instead of having two independent structures of annual conference organization, we bring the best of each one to the table? What if, instead of doing things like we've always done them, we discern what may no longer be needed for a new season of ministry? We've already seen the power and unity and kingdom impact when we combine efforts in areas like disaster response, college and campus ministry, leadership training, and so much more. As one Episcopal area, it makes sense to keep finding ways to work together with the potential for a more powerful and effective structure that can resource our local congregations. We also believe the same result can be accomplished with the empowerment of our laity by bringing together the hearts, passions, gifts, and graces of United Methodists across our state. We can continue to rebuild and position our United Methodist presence across every inch of the state in a way that can serve generations to come.
And the third reason is stewardship. I shared already some of the numbers that have led us to this moment. But when we talk about stewardship, we want to do it from the standpoint of being the best stewards of United Methodist resources for kingdom impact for generations to come. Combining the diversity, passion, skills, and graces of the clergy and ministries of both conferences help us to maximize our community efforts if we both bring them to the same table. The Office of Ministerial Services, Clergy Excellence, Connectional Ministries, both boards of laity of both annual conferences are constantly providing helpful resources to equip our clergy and our laity across the conferences. And they're doing it largely independently. In some areas, we are overlapping resources. So what a great opportunity to consolidate the best resources that we have and try to expand those resources in new and creative ways. Both conferences have the goal and vision to start repopulating our United Methodist presence in those areas where we have now deserts of our presence and keep our Wesleyan tradition of multiplication present. So what a great opportunity to do that together and be more effective as one. You see, it's not about saving money by sharing structures and systems, but also about redirecting our biggest resource, faithful United Methodist laity, to be more involved in missional efforts. What it would look like if instead of having 50 or 100 people serving in duplicate committees that meet our administrative needs, we redirect them and deploy them to missional opportunities that can reach more people for Christ. These are the questions we want to continue to explore so we can discover how, by becoming one Georgia, it will help us to be better stewards of God's resources in the state of Georgia.
So what does the time frame for this unification journey look like? For the next couple of months, we're going to deploy working groups that will lay out the work of what becoming one annual conference could look like. We anticipate those teams to bring a report before each annual conference in June of 2025, where the North and the South Georgia annual conferences would hear, engage, ask questions, and have the opportunity to affirm the work of the Unification Task Force leadership team and the working groups. If the work is affirmed by both annual conferences, then during the fall of 2025 and the spring of 2026, we anticipate that alignment and synergy between both conferences will continue to take shape and form. It's important to mention that those efforts will be needed regardless of the unification outcome, but are necessary changes that need to take place. Then in June of 2026, both annual conferences will have the opportunity in their individual annual conferences to receive and act upon a potential final report on the unification of the annual conferences. If both annual conferences affirm the work of unification, we will then request a call of a virtual special session by the Southeastern Jurisdictional Conference, where delegates would have the opportunity to vote to approve the unification. It's possible that a session could be called for late summer or fall of 2026. It's important to clarify that it is the Southeastern Jurisdictional Conference of the United Methodist Church that has the authority to unify conferences. So dependent on the findings and actions of the annual conferences and the jurisdiction, there's the possibility that the annual conference could officially become one on January 1st of 2027. I do want to pause here and acknowledge the tension created when working towards something that has not yet been finalized or approved. It's important to be clear that the decisions ultimately rest in the hands of our clergy and laity in our annual conferences and in the hands of delegates to the Southeastern Jurisdictional Conference. We are in a season of great discernment about our future. At the same time, we want to be proactive and intentional as we work on details now that will support unification if it moves forward. By doing this work thoughtfully, we aim to honor the decision-making process and ensure we are prepared for whatever lies ahead. Until then, as we walk side by side on this journey, we are two independent annual conferences working together to do great things.
Finally, let me just share briefly about the work that we'll be doing together during the next 2 years and who is going to be doing this work. As Kelly just mentioned, this month around 20 working groups are being launched to study and pursue the unification of the North Georgia and the South Georgia Annual Conference. Each team will be made up by clergy and laity from both conferences. The One Georgia leadership team, made up from 6 people from each annual conferences, plus Bishop Dees, a total of 13, began meeting in the fall of 2024, named a 12-member nominations team in December, and it has been this nominations team who is populating and deploying these working groups of clergy and laity from both conferences. Now, these working groups, composed by over 100 United Methodist members from both annual conferences, will be asked to explore, consider, and create templates of the structures, systems, style, culture, staff support, skills, and gifts and strategies of one potential annual conference. As you can see, this journey of unification is not and will not be a decision that is going to be made from the top down, but it will be a decision and effort that it is done as a we.
So friends, we want to invite you to visit our Georgia UMC website and look at these details we have shared with you. We want to know what questions you have and what we can clarify for you. But above all, we want to ask that you covenant in prayer with us during this season in the life of United Methodism in the state of Georgia.
So we're embarking this exciting season full of unknowns. Yet, and while we do diligent work in all the areas that is needed, our attention will be focused on the things that we do know. That the state of Georgia is in need of Christ in tangible ways. That there is a loving and gracious God moving across the coast, over the plains to the mountains, and even along the highways throughout the state. And that there is a group of people called United Methodists that were created for such a time as this to transform this state and beyond.